Good evening, everyone. Welcome in. We're going to wait a few more minutes to let some people trickle in. But in the meantime, if anyone wants to share in the chat something fun that they did this summer.
After this, I'll empty my dehumidifier. Don't worry. But let's jump into it. Alexa, stop. Sorry. All right. So welcome everybody to our Finance Vice President Leadership Lab. Thank you all for joining us. We're super excited. We are the ASC or the Award Standing Committee, and we're here to chat with you a little bit about your role as Finance Vice President and just some tips and tricks that can set you up for a successful year. So, just to introduce us, my name is Nori. I'm the chair of the Award Standing Committee. I'm a final year student pharmacist at Wilkes University, Nesbitt School of Pharmacy in Northeastern Pennsylvania. And then we have with us Emily, who is the liaison for our committee. She is the APHA ASP National President-elect. So, next year she will be our fearless leader in APHA ASP. We also have with us today Adam from University of Cincinnati, as well as Seth from Lipscomb. And then Olivia is the last member of our award standing committee team, and she was not able to make it here tonight, but she is also available to support you however. So we're gonna just do like a brief overview. Most of this is covered in our little clips that hopefully you guys saw linked to our YouTube, but just gonna go through the responsibilities quick of what it means to be a financial VP. So your overall job is to ensure the financial health of your chapter. So, making sure that your chapter has the funds that it needs to carry out its activities, right? And that kind of starts with maintaining a budget for your chapter to make sure that, you keep track of that money and that you're spending it appropriately. Additionally, you are responsible for coordinating fundraising ideas and helping to kind of keep track of those funds coming in from those fundraisers. You are also in charge of keeping in touch with your chapter advisor and letting them know how your financial management is going. And then any checks, invoices, reimbursements, or anything like that that come into the chapter, that is all part of your responsibility. And then collect and manage chapter dues. And then make sure that you understand and adhere to your school's banking and financial policies because every school is different. Getting into communication now, how can you communicate as a financial VP? So you need to be able to communicate with your advisor, your president-elect, and that is to give them updates on the funding from the chapter. So providing them with monthly financial reports about where the chapter stands. What did you spend money on that month? What money came in that month? And where does your chapter stand right now? What costs do you anticipate coming up? Things like that. You also would like to communicate with vice presidents and patient care chairs, right? So making sure that they're getting reimbursed for their expenses, collecting their receipts appropriately. If they each have a budget, letting them know what that budget is. And then if you have a finance committee, then, holding those meetings regularly. I know there's a lot of schools that have a separate fundraising chair and then maybe a fundraising VP or a fundraising committee or a finance committee. So making sure that they're helping you out with your tasks and having meetings and communicating with them. So here is an example of a monthly finance report that you can utilize. So some account totals, where did you start? Where did you end? What's the change there? Savings, and then if anything's coming in through, digital payments, and then kind of reconciling those transactions, reimbursements, if you're getting checks, and then, alterations to your budget, anything outside of the budget that you didn't initially plan for, how much you have for the year, what's remaining, and then you can kind of house that within a spreadsheet and link to it right there. And then documenting what you're getting from those fundraisers. Is it an event or is it something you're selling? And then what did you have to pay into the fundraiser versus what do you anticipate to get out of it or what did you end up profiting? And now I'm going to hand it off for budgeting.
All right, so let's talk about budgeting. Talk about what that looks like for your chapter. So, budgeting obviously is a very key step, really, when it comes to anything with money, even in our own personal lives. So, it's just as important at the chapter level. And so, these are just some tips to keep in mind as you're preparing for a budget for the upcoming school year. So, first, kind of Nori already touched on this, but making sure that your fellow chapter leaders are following the budget. So, that comes with communication, making sure they're all aware at kind of where your chapter stands, what resources are available to be allocated to individual patient care projects, et cetera. So that's kind of a key point there. But also, you can have a really finite budget, but a lot of good ideas, come with rolling budgets and what that kind of looks like, because obviously unexpected things happen throughout the year, or you may have to, reallocate funds to one area that you were not expecting initially. And so just being thorough and flexible and kind of having additional, room to divert funds as necessary is also an important part of an effective budget. Also, already kind of touched on a little bit as well, but making sure that your budgeting and expenses align with your school policies. I know for my chapter, we've, had different individual like fundraising ideas or, things we counted on for allocating funds. But we also had to make sure that got approved from kind of a higher up source. So that's also something to take into account when you're planning your budget individually. And then also staying organized with receipts, reimbursements, and payments, making sure that you have those, especially if you're using that for like any, tax-free purposes or that sort of thing. That's also something to keep in mind as well. And then as far as items to go ahead and consider to include in your budget, so these are just some ideas that can kind of get you started there as well. So big things and to keep in mind for saving money in your budget for. That would include things like your professional conferences and meetings. So our Student Leadership Institute, maybe a regional meeting, which is back in person this year. So that's an additional thing to consider as well. And then also the APHA annual meeting. So whatever that looks like for your school, whether you get kind of higher up funds to kind of divert to that, or if you're fundraising for that, that's obviously a good way to expand engagement in your chapter by helping to reimburse members to go. Also things like your patient counseling competition, the fees that are associated with that, as well as any rental fees, and then additional things like leadership retreats, food for meetings, your patient care projects, which I touched on a little bit already, and then also any type of promotional materials and what that may look like. So as far as some just general budgeting tips. So if your chapter already had a pre-established budget from the past year, past years, obviously starting there is a great place to kind of take, that and build off of that or revamp it as needed. And then also reviewing your budget throughout the year, kind of as we talked about being thorough and flexible, but also, staying on top of it and making sure that, you don't get to the end of the year and you just kind of have no idea where your money went and your expenses went. Just kind of being on top of that throughout the year is really important. And then as far as just besides being there and flexible, also being as frugal as possible, making sure you're using your money wisely at the time, and then planning for unforeseen costs and taxes, and then also talking with your advisor and other chapter leaders. As finance VP, Nori's already mentioned it from a communication standpoint, but being in contact directly with your chapter president, president-elect, and also your chapter advisors, and kind of asking for their input as things come up can be a great resource in terms of how do you need to reallocate money and things like that. I will also mention we can include links for it later as well, but I know there also is sample budgets available on the APHA website, so you can use that also as kind of a baseline if you need additional resources on getting started with the budget. And I will now pass it over about sponsorships.
All right, so I get to talk about my favorite thing in the world, which is free money. So let's go ahead and get started talking about sponsorships. They are a great opportunity for you to create partnerships with other organizations around your college, um, to help you hold events, do certain things such as health fairs, networking events, pharmacy advocacy events, and they can also help you possibly sponsor students to go to APHA meetings such as, like Seth said, the mid-year regional meeting, which is back in person for regions 1 through 4 on in Louisville, which is very close to me. I'm very excited about that. And then for our regions 5 through 8, going out to Las Vegas. So also kind of jealous of that too, but it's okay. But they can also sponsor you going to the APHA annual meeting exposition as well. So these are a couple of events that you would possibly want to reach out for. And when you are reaching out to potential sponsors, it's very important to introduce yourself and who you represent. So you're the finance vice president for your local AS or APHA ASP chapter at your university. explain what your event is and why it's important to your chapter, describe what your goals are for your event, and to be professional and thank them for their consideration. It is very important to keep in mind that this is a mutually beneficial relationship. They're going to help you maybe run this event, but they're also going to get something out of it as well. Maybe exposure to potential people that are going to work for them later, or more people advocating for something that they're interested in for advocacy events. So, kind of sell that selling point that this is going to be a relationship that you can build on. Oh, okay, perfect. So we have an example email drafted for you guys to send out to potential sponsorships. You can use this, or you can, take kind of the bare bones of it and kind of develop one that fits more of, how you write emails, how you feel like would apply to your chapter. But again, it's very important to stress, what you want to get out of the sponsorship, or yeah, out of the sponsorship, and what they can also get out of it as well. And I'll pass it over to Emily.
Thank you, Adam. So I can talk about my favorite part, which is fundraising. It's really such a great opportunity for you to get your org, your chapter, your class engaged with supporting whatever your programming is for that year. I won't go too in depth with the specific meetings for today. I'm sure you guys know where to look for the programming specifics and where to sign up for it. What I want y'all to focus on for this section is just the fact that y'all are the backbone for your chapter's financial success. I'm sure that in an ideal world, there might be an optimal budget that each patient care project or each officer wants to execute their events, but your role is vital to allocate sources objectively and fairly throughout your chapter's programming and to really think prospectively about what parts of the year need more financial support. And finances are definitely the area that requires the most transparency. There's no wishy-washy business when it comes to your budget. So definitely collaboration with your school, like Adam and Nori mentioned earlier. And I'm sure you guys already know, but some of the best places to sell have the most foot traffic. And so really make sure to optimize your org fairs, your general body meetings. If you know the day of the week is whenever all the classes are on campus, try to host your fundraising events during those days. Some tips for executing successful chapters are focusing on low-cost fundraisers like candy for Candygrams during Valentine's. Building relationships with local businesses who are open to providing discounts was a really big opportunity for my chapter personally at the University of Houston. We had a bunch of restaurants around the area that were open to donating, you know, their boxes of catered foods or prepackaged items that we could sell at school. And so that's a great way to have a low cost, high yield fundraiser. Garage sales are also a great way to sell merchandise that your school has already purchased. So you're not using money to sell these items. A quick note that I did want to mention with APHA ASP branded merch, we definitely encourage you guys to make local chapter merch. It's super fun. If you're going to add the official APHA logo, which we're really grateful if you do, before you finalize the designs and buy your merchandise, make sure to send them to the APHA staff just so that we can approve the use of the logo before you make it and disperse it. And you can reach out to me, but I'll also put in the contacts for our staff in the chat and in our group me. We would just really appreciate it just to make sure that the branding is all above board, which we're sure that it is. But yeah, we're going to talk about examples now. Get ready to unmute your mics soon, but I'll let Nori take it on from here.
Yeah, so I just wanted to share some examples of what my chapter did this past year, just to, exchange some ideas. So these three, the mortar and pestle and the flag and the little teddy bear, I made those on Canva pretty easily, and then I got them printed, and it was not expensive. So they're stickers, and I think I paid $20 for 100 of them. And then we sold them for $2 each or like 3 for 5 or something. And that was able to make a lot of money. And they're cute. And now people have them on their laptops. So I thought that was fun. We did a tote bag and a Comfort Colors t-shirt because Comfort Colors are like the best t-shirts. Um, we did these. These were a big hit with our faculty. They're like Patagonia jackets, but like not the Patagonia brand because those are expensive. So, these are nice. You could wear them to Ippies and Appies. We did scrubs, which I didn't have a picture of. I was sad, but scrubs for rotations with our school logo on it. CPR masks. And then we do a bake sale usually every semester, which is always fun. So I just wanted to share some stuff that my school has done that has been successful to see if you guys want to steal any ideas. That's totally fine. And then we're gonna do a little bit of a discussion. So, what is one unique fundraiser that your chapter has had success with? Does anybody want to share any cool ideas that you guys have done? You could do it in the chat or feel free to unmute and we can make it like a conversation. That's totally fine too.
I guess I'll go first.
Yeah.
Hi, my name's Kayla. I'm from UT Tyler. My chapter, what we've done in the past is we had, I don't know if y'all know what Helix cards are.
Mm-mm,
Mm,
I
They're
don't.
like, you can like put your LinkedIn and all your contact information
Oh,
on
like
there.
a dot card.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And
Gotcha. Yeah.
we did that as I think it was last year. Yeah. We did that last year. So that was one of it really turned out good. So that was one of the fundraisers that we did.
That's a great one. Thank you for sharing. Anybody else have any like unique ones or like what was your most successful one that you guys have had in the past?
And this is also a great time to pick other people's brains on like how much things cost with these fundraisers and like what the
Hmm.
profit margins were. This is also a great time for questions. We really encourage y'all to seek out help from each other.
One thing that my chapter was going to do that we didn't end up doing is we were going to do little pharmacist like ornaments. Um, and
So
then have like your name on them, like you know how there's like a blank at the bottom, like you write them in. So we were gonna do that, but we didn't get the chance to. I don't know where I'll find the name for the stickers. But does anybody else want to share while I look for that?
For the University of Mississippi, we always do an auction that has like professor experiences. So it's a free thing for us, and our professors essentially like sign up for an experience, whether it's like take four students to Top Golf and they pay for it. So we made like thousands of dollars off of that because people would go in as groups because they'll have like max numbers of students that can attend the experience. Some professors would like go in together, others would do it like by themselves, but it would be like dinner or game night at my house, stuff like that.
That's awesome. Our school does that before just like our overall pharmacy senate, which distributes money to the low like all of the other clubs. But our CEO, Michael Hogue, actually was the first person to initiate a pharmacy auction. He told us that story a while ago, and a lot of schools started doing it from him. So, that's a really, really, really good way to bring in a ton of funds because and it's also a good way to interact with your faculty, right? So I think that that's a great one. So if anybody doesn't have an auction at their school with professor experiences, that's definitely a really good one to look into. Thank you for sharing that. Anybody else want to share anything?
what was the entry fee for each student? I'm curious.
Ours, we didn't have one. So you just attended and you would have numbers, and we kind of ran it like essentially like an auction, like, and you would hold up your number, place your bid. And then like a lot of friend groups would get together beforehand and be like, okay, max, I would spend like $100 a piece or something. And so the bids got really high for certain like faculty, and there was a bunch of different experiences, not just like dinners and stuff like that, but
Wow,
Yeah,
that's
ours
such
is
a
the
Say
same.
back to what Mecklin was saying, one of the experience was like getting your nails done with one of our favorite professors. So it was like things that were important to all of us.
My one professor has a dairy farm and makes really good ice cream. And so it was like coming to her farm and eating ice cream. And we all, everybody in Kappa Psi always like goes in on it. Like we're all like, this is our limit. And it's usually like we all throw in like 15 books, but if it's a huge group and then it ends up going for so much. But yeah. So this is the stickers I got. It was $19 for 100 of them. I'll send the link in the chat. Partnered with the Titans to work their merchandising stands. That is awesome.
I had a quick question
Yeah.
about the pharmacy auction. I'm new to my role, so I don't really have a lot of ideas, but I was just curious, what is the appeal? Like, my thing is that if people are auctioning to choose to go with a professor, like, sure, like, what is there to gain other than, like, I mean, what are they gaining?
Like
Yeah,
they like bid money for it, if that makes sense. So like the P2 class would say, I bid $20 to go on this farm trip. And then, the P3s might say 30. And then the P2s might up it, okay, I'll pay 50. And then it's basically an auction. So then the price keeps going up and up and up. And then whatever the winning price is, then your chapter profits that money and the experience or whatever is being auctioned off is like donated by a professor. Does that make sense?
Right, so then the experience has to be something that's desired by the class or something that they feel is worth their time,
Hmm.
essentially.
Yeah, yeah. So like going to the dairy farm and having ice cream or like getting your nails done, or we have ones that's like professor will cook you a homemade meal or take you golfing or something like that. That's like fun and casual, I guess.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
Sorry. Did
I
somebody
would.
else say something? I didn't want to cut you off.
Can you
Yeah.
hear me?
yeah, Nori, it was me.
Oh,
Okay.
sorry.
So UC also does this faculty auction as well. The way that we also sell it too is that all of the money that we raise goes towards reimbursement for annual, like for anyone that wants to go to annual. So a lot of people see it as like kind of a down payment to going to annual, and they're getting this experience on top of it. So that's another way you can kind of leverage your money and kind of push people to go to the event, like go to the actual auction, bid on these events, and then also go to annuals, so you can kind of do it all in one.
Okay, okay, got it. Thank you so much.
Does anybody else have any other fundraisers that they'd like to share?
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, awesome. I was gonna add off of that previous question a way to kind of incentivize people to bid more or make more money. We have a big event called Culture Night that we have a designated EC chair for. Where we have tables, each one has makes food for a different culture of their choosing, decorates it, and we donate half of our earnings to El Puente, which is a local organization in town. And we held a silent auction there where you wrote it on paper so no one had to actually be physically super involved. Um, and that money would be sent to that organization. But one of them, someone came up with this last minute, and it was one of those days with two of the favorite female professors, like a shopping day, nail day. But then someone also did a school incentive, and that really got. I mean, I swear people walked through the door the minute that it was said. And
Like what
when
is the school?
it was, so we have I don't know if anyone does anything similar, but we had these recitation cases our second year where you had to prepare 3 cases and you could get randomly called up in front of the class where you had to present your worked up case, your rapid fired questions out after you present. You don't know if you're going that day.
We
Like,
did not do that.
so you could risk it and not work them up, or you could suffer the consequences. And if you got called up, you were in trouble. But so you never knew when you were going, and so sometimes you'd work up in a super hard case and you didn't go, or maybe you got the one case you didn't want, but they made a sign up for
choosing your recitation day, and it's there. You only get 2
Oh.
a semester, and they're worth a lot of points. So I say that that was the sheet that was filled out the most and bidding on top
That's
of
awesome.
bid from every student. I mean, obviously, not a lot of participation there from like any family that attended or anyone not in the organization in our pharmacy school because it was open to anyone. We wanted anyone and everyone there. But I'd say, despite that, majority of the attendees were students or faculty. So I thought I've been trying to come up with a way to do this kind of auction thing again with more of these school incentives because I do think it was that could have been something there that stuck in my mind for a while because that was the most participation on a fundraising as part of it as I've ever seen.
Yeah, that's a great idea. And like tying in, an incentive that students really want, I think is an awesome way to raise some funds. So yeah, thank you for sharing that. Any other ones people want to share that are unique?
And also, y'all wouldn't be able to do it unless you have like established relationships with your faculty. So that's
Hmm.
another great way to like make sure y'all have these relationships growing so that they can support y'all at no cost because they work there.
I have something that we did last year, and we do it every year. Um, it's a penny donation. This will sound weird because it's not much, but they only do it like because South University, we start in June, being an accelerated program. So that first quarter that we have is also the last quarter with the class that's going to graduate that are the third years. They're going into their third year. So it's kind of our class against the class is not ahead of us, but 2 times ahead of us. And your goal is to have tons of pennies raised for your class in a jar or dollar like bills, like dollar bills, fives, tens, 20s. Those all count toward, and you get a certain amount of points for however much you have in there. If you have any silver change, so the quarters, dimes, nickels, it counts against you. And the classes will like go back and forth. And one day we'll go into their classroom and get their jar and pull all of their pennies out and steal their pennies and then put all of our silver change into theirs to count the points against them. And so it creates competition back and forth. But then at the end of the quarter, for whoever ends up having the most points, most money raised, which usually someone throws a couple 20s in right at the end, their class advisor is the one that's safe. The class, though, whoever loses that class, their class advisor has to wear the squirrel suit. So, and then, yep, that we get pictures of it. Yeah, they gotta go around campus for the whole day wearing a squirrel suit.
I love that. We used to do something like that in high school for the different classes, but there was no squirrel suit involved. So I like that you guys took it to another level with like some public humiliation. That's awesome. That's a really good idea, like a penny drop. I like that. I never even thought of that, like for pharmacy school. I wish I thought back to my high school fundraisers. Awesome. Anybody else want to share anything?
If not, we can move on to our next question. I think we
Yeah, for
both
sure.
kind of answered the first two, but
Hmm.
what do you guys think would be the biggest challenge related to serving this role?
I personally would say that the challenge I've seen, luckily I wasn't in the peak of this bad time, but I think years ago we were the organization wasn't well managed or our school and the finance part of it was wiped out. They were pretty much there was nothing to spend whenever it had come to um, the new executive committee members and the finance VP, and that they started working really hard to come up from nothing. And luckily, I'm in the spot where we are in a safe and better spot. But even so, we are still kind of in this process of really bringing ourselves back up from even years ago, a few years ago, back when it was not managed well, as far as the finances go. And it's still my job to see if we can try to come out a little bit higher or advance, just to continue building so that the future positions can be in an even better spot that I am. And so trying to find ways to save money or do things drastically different, I guess it's very difficult to come up with something that's just totally and new and unique to save a lot of money in that way. It seems to be just dollars at a time, just pennies, because we had to kind of have to stick to the same schedule every year. And we only have so many opportunities as a small town as far as where we can order food and things.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. It definitely is a role that doesn't come without its challenges, right? Because you want to ensure the financial success for your year, but you also want to make sure that you're setting future years up for success, right? Yeah. Anybody else want to share any challenges? Thank you for sharing that one.
I feel like the thing that I've been thinking of is like the hardest thing is like trying to find ways to make money that doesn't come out of students' pockets.
Mm-hmm.
Like
Yeah,
trying to
it's
find
definitely hard.
outside sources because I feel like my school, I go to Binghamton in New York, and like we're really new. Like I think I'm the eighth class in the whole school. Like we just from the first graduating class was like 2021. So I feel like it's kind of hard to like reach out to other people and try to think of things that would like raise money that the students aren't paying for, if that kind of makes sense.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's a really good point. Um,
Because we're all broke.
yeah, literally, I felt that. Yeah, we like for us, it was nice when we did the jackets because a lot of faculty bought them, but again, like a lot of students did too. But like I think people were reluctant to because it was expensive. So yeah, it's definitely hard. Like, kind of how do you raise money because your audience that you're interacting with like is students, but students aren't always willing to participate and stuff like that because, we're all in school, so none of us have money. So I
Right.
totally get it. But yeah.
We kind of mitigated that a little bit by going to the undergrad part of campus and selling to those students. So we were still
Nice.
getting the students to raise funds, but at least it wasn't just like, because we have 20 something orgs that all fundraise in the same commons, every lunch period. And at one point they were all sort of like fundraising the same things. So we at least like wanted to go to another part of campus to sell to those students who maybe didn't know who we were.
So how, like what did you do at like main campus? Because I'm in the same thing of like my university's on like a different campus than like undergrad. So what did you do
We
at undergrad campus?
We bought really cute pins on Amazon, and then we did a bake sale. So we sold a lot of goodies that like some of our officers knew how to like bake. So they made cookies and muffins and like all those things. And they sort of, I guess it came out of their own pocket a little bit because it was their labor, but we still paid for their ingredients. They just baked a lot, but we made pretty good money out of that.
That's a good idea. Thank you.
Welcome. And it was like on our half day so that we could be on main campus for like a longer time selling things instead of just like during our lunch.
I will
And
say if you do like merch, you could focus your merch around not necessarily like university of blah blah blah, more like support your local pharmacy. And I'm also the president of NCPA, and we did that, and a lot of like local pharmacies bought our merch. I would say that was the majority of the people that did. So if you did like sweatshirts that were like, support Mississippi pharmacies, with all the PBMs and everything happening right now, I know that that was like a big seller for us.
That's a really good idea. Yeah.
I totally forgot about our current fundraiser. We haven't done it yet, so I can't report on the success of it, but we're really excited because we think it's going to be maybe hopefully the most successful we've ever done. I don't know if y'all have heard of and I might be off on the information. I don't know too much about it just yet. It's called Domino's Slice the Price, as far as a fundraiser that you can target that's not just the school. It's buy one, it's the card's $20 and it's a buy one, get one free. And if I've been told, if I'm not mistaken, but don't quote me, you can buy as many and you're getting that many free. So for schools like the high school or uh the all the sports teams around here, there's going to be a lot. We're a small town with lots of ball fields and public schools, and we also have the undergrad. So lots of people we expect to buy these out, honestly, more so outside of our pharmacy program.
Wow, that's
That's
amazing.
really cool. Very cool. Um,
Question for
yeah.
whoever can answer. I had an idea as part of the fundraiser, especially with immunizations coming up is a big thing as well. Before I started school, I was back in Jacksonville, and with work, we would actually be able to go to the local news station and talk about the different free vaccine programs and free vaccines that were offered and where people could get them. And then we actually gave some shots on TV as well. Has anyone been
Awesome.
able to do that with like a school though? Because I haven't seen anything with a school though.
Yeah. Like we do a lot of vaccine clinics at my school through Operation Immunization. It's definitely something that could tie in like with the mission of that operation if you wanted to do something like that. That would be awesome. Good question. Yeah, Seth had a good point in the chat. The Titans fundraiser that they did, there was no students costs. So then they raised some money for future conferences. So, reaching out if you guys have a big sports team in your area, definitely maybe reach out to those people, see if you could set up something like that. Um, yeah. Anybody want to tackle the last question? What is one change, if any, that you would like to make or introduce during your time? I know we kind of talked about a lot already, but any last thoughts really on any of the questions or anybody want to share anything else or idea exchange?
I can actually touch on like one of the changes they did this past year that you mentioned, Nori, about the monthly like finance updates. During our like exec officer meetings, we never really discussed what each chair was doing unless, or each VP was doing unless they wanted to share. Really, it was just like review on the general business meeting material. But the following year, we had like a set agenda on what each VP had to present about. And so that was like an expectation going in so that we know what our finances are looking like and like what patient care projects are having a lot of momentum with their events because of like what they're raising. And as we kept going throughout the year and more funds were being used, we could all sort of help each other out with strategizing how we can like reallocate the funds to annual for the most part. So the monthly meetings or like having the expectation to come in with information that you can present in a digestible way to your other VP members, I think really helps take the load off yourself in the future because you're really helping your VPs all serve the same chapter. And so it really is valuable, even though it's another meeting of information, it really is helpful.
Yeah, I think that that's all a really good point. And um, to close it out, there is a group me if you guys hadn't joined. So if you guys have any fundraisers that you do throughout the year that, was really successful or you have a good idea or you want to share anything, feel free to send it in the group me so we could all kind of see it and or if you're selling something that like maybe everybody would want, send it. Maybe we could all support each other, swap ideas, things like that. So the group me is a really good place for all of that. So if something comes up that you think of later, it's all, we have a platform for you guys to share that information. And send pictures of the stuff that you're doing. We all want to see it. I think it would be cool. So this also, Emily, did you want to touch on this?
Yes, this is the fall membership drive kickoff. It's not mandatory, but especially with this new CVS deal, which we're all super excited about, and hopefully will get us a little bit more momentum in terms of the finances side. But this will really break down the logistics of how we want to execute the fall membership drive. The end of this month, you guys should be getting the membership merchandise boxes pretty soon, and so keep a lookout for that. But yes, if you want to register for the seminar, here's the link, but it's not mandatory. It's just if you wish.
Awesome. Anybody have any questions or anything here? Here's our question slide. Plus, Emily, this is a screenshot from the website, so I'm sorry, Emily.
No, you're good.
Anybody questions, concerns, anything like that?
Okay, I don't necessarily have a question. I'm Jessica, by the way. I'm also like new to this position.
Yeah,
But
welcome.
I go to LECOM in Bradenton, so we also have like an online program as well. So we have an in-person and an online. So I don't know how many other schools offer both of those, but I think figuring out obviously ways to fundraise and incorporate both the in-person students and the online students is probably going to have some sort of challenges because if we do something on campus, then trying to figure out how to make sure the off campus can also attend. So I didn't know if anyone in this chat also has an online program or maybe they're in an online program and has any sort of opinions or things that they've done to like incorporate both. But that was just it.
Yeah, actually, our chapter actually just started an online program this past year, so we're going into year 2 of it. So it's very fresh for us, but as far as some ideas that I know our chapter this past year kind of like started to implement, I mean, one thing that we specifically do, we do like specific like for the Political Action Committee, the PAC fundraisers, which you can like, utilize this for just like general fundraisers for your chapter as well. But we did like a chapter raffle that included things that were worthwhile to other members. So whether it's like little gift cards or things like that. So obviously like any type of raffle is a good opportunity as well. And then I know something that like also we talked about and I've also seen other chapters do is like do care packages, whether that's, to just, includes local students, but also can consider like mailing, care packages and that sort of thing if they're willing to pay for that, which I know is kind of a specific option, but that's also something that I've seen other schools do.
Okay, awesome. Yeah, I definitely really appreciate it. Thank you.
Yeah, maybe that's something that we could incorporate into our like materials for future years. I'll definitely make a note of that as, more schools are adding online components. That's great feedback. I appreciate that. All right, guys. If there's nothing else, definitely let's keep in touch with the group me. Share your ideas, share your links to things that worked well for you, and don't hesitate to reach out to anybody on ASC or at APHA if you guys need anything, and let us know how we can support you. And good luck with the year ahead.
Thank you so much for coming, guys.
Thank you so much.
Nice meeting you all.
Nice to
Bye.
meet you guys. Good luck with the year.
You too.
You.